Grandma, the choice is yours. It's either time to shut down your fish shop or disown yourself from this family and leave the house. My daughter-in-law's blunt way of speaking left me speechless, but I had a hunch about what she might say. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Amanda, a 63-year-old woman living alongside my husband Chris, who happens to be 2 years my senior. Our journey together spans 39 years, a union that began with the relentless pursuit of Chris, a senior colleague at the same company. We embarked on a whirlwind romance, and 2 years later, our first son Jimmy was born. At that time, Chris's career was on the rise, and our marriage seemed to be the epitome of perfection. However, life took an unexpected turn when, out of the blue, we found ourselves running a fish market. Chris, in a sudden revelation, expressed his desire to start such an enterprise just after our son Jimmy turned 7. The catalyst for this decision was news that a fish market, run by a man who had aided Chris in the past, was on the verge of closure due to a lack of a successor. Amidst understanding Chris's heartfelt intentions, I couldn't help but question the wisdom of sacrificing our stable life and potentially putting our family at risk. It was the first time thoughts of divorcing Chris crossed my mind. But what about Jimmy? We were a family bound by love, and I couldn't fathom breaking that bond. After countless pleas from Chris and his unwavering determination, I reluctantly gave in and prepared myself for the challenges that lay ahead. Now, 30 years later, Chris' lively voice greets customers with a warm welcome to our thriving fish market. Hello, welcome. Come in. We just got fresh salmon. We've even expanded our business to the online realm, thanks to a suggestion from one of our young employees. Despite the tough times we faced, Chris's belief in the importance of trust in business, coupled with our mutual efforts and support, have brought us the happiness we now enjoy. As we approach our 40th wedding anniversary, we were in the midst of planning the next chapter of our lives when tragedy struck. Our peaceful existence was disrupted by the discovery of Chris's battle with cancer. Suddenly, our focus shifted to medical treatments, chemotherapy, and regular hospital visits. But I'm not dying tomorrow, so don't worry. There's still so much to do at home and at the shop, Chris said bravely. All I could do was nod, holding back my tears. We only shared the news of Chris' illness with a select few, his siblings, our employees, and a handful of close acquaintances. We decided to tell our son. I don't plan to take over the fish market, our son said. Having moved out to live on his own after graduating college, he now lives with his wife Alexa and their son Tate. We've only seen Jimmy's family a few times in the past 3 years. He hasn't come home or even called. It's just work. I'm too busy, he would say. Still, Chris and I always thought, as long as Jimmy and his family are happy, that's all that matters. We watched Tate grow from afar. I thought Jimmy would just say, I'm busy, or maybe just decline altogether. However, Jimmy's response was unexpected. Got it. I'll arrange things at work and come home as soon as I can. And he did come, bringing Alexa and Tate with him. Grandpa, Grandma, hi. Seeing Tate, now 10, after 3 years, Chris and I were astonished at how much he had grown. Then Jimmy made an unexpected proposal. Can we live together in this house? What's with the sudden decision? I asked. After hearing about Dad's illness, Jimmy explained, I want to cherish the time left with him. Besides, it must be hard for Mom to take care of him alone while working. But what about your job? You can't commute to the office from here, can you? I questioned. Don't worry about work right now. Dad's health is what matters most. We'll support Chris and Amanda, Jimmy assured. It was strange that Jimmy and his wife, who had been almost estranged, so readily agreed to move in. Normally, it would seem absurd, but at that time, I couldn't make a rational decision. I'd be so relieved if Jimmy and his wife could come to help with Chris' care. Maybe spending time with Tate will motivate Chris to fight cancer and ease his suffering. So I gratefully accepted Jimmy's offer. However, once we started living together, Jimmy and his wife didn't contribute to Chris' care. the house, or even Tate. Everything was left to me. They had decided to open a cafe, and while I was supportive, I was taken aback at their lack of involvement in the responsibilities at home. "Jimmy, you think you can start a cafe with no experience?" I questioned, concerned about their plan. "It's okay. We've been planning this for a while," Jimmy reassured me. "I've been too busy with work to spend time with Tate, but with the cafe, I can take care of him. Mom, please help me until the cafe opens." "Jimmy, I have the store to run. Just leave the store to the other employees. And Mom, don't come upstairs where we live. We need our privacy," he imposed, one-sidedly dictating the terms. "Sorry, but could you separate our laundry from yours, Amanda? I don't want the fish smell on our clothes." Alexa gestured as if to wave off the smell. "And Alexa, can you do Jimmy and Tate's laundry?" Jimmy added, further dividing responsibilities. Alexa seemed unhappy, probably not expecting to do the laundry herself. I couldn't help but inject a little sarcasm. "I wouldn't want to get the fish smell on your clothes, right?" As the days went on, Tate started getting closer to us, asking to sleep in Grandma and Grandpa's room downstairs. Despite Jimmy's attitude, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the time spent with Tate. Yet, my grievances grew as I juggled Chris's care, household chores, and looking after Tate. Meanwhile, Chris's condition worsened, and he eventually had to be hospitalized. "Are you okay? You'll collapse before me at this rate," Chris expressed concern for me. Trying to sound cheerful, I replied, "I'm strong, don't worry. I want to provide Tate with warm meals and keep the house clean. That's why I'm doing all this." Chris was more worried about me than himself. "I'm sorry for making you take care of Jimmy's family too after I'm gone. Please put yourself first and take care of Tate," he said, clutching my hand with his thinning fingers. "Chris, don't talk like that. We have our 40th anniversary to celebrate together, remember?" I tried to reassure him. That day became the last time I could have a real conversation with Chris. Just a few days later, despite my prayers, Chris passed away. Many people attended his funeral, including our store's clients, neighbors, and regular customers. During the funeral, I was proud of Chris' kindness and how much he was loved by everyone. However, as the ceremony concluded, I noticed a shift in Jimmy's demeanor. He approached me and asked, "Hey Mom, how much is Dad's inheritance?" I couldn't believe these were the first words from his son who had just lost his father. I felt deeply disappointed in the son I had raised. Back home from the church, lost in thought, Tate approached me. "Grandma, are you okay?" he asked with concern. I tried to put on a brave smile and replied, "I'm fine, just a bit tired." Tate, sensing something, said, "It's lonely without Grandpa, isn't it? But you know, I promised Grandpa that I would protect Grandma, so cheer up." I had no idea that Chris and Tate had made such a promise. "Thank you. Having you here is a great comfort to me," I said, smiling as I took Tate's hand. That night, after Tate had fallen asleep, I called Jimmy and his wife to the living room to discuss the situation. Before I could ask about the will, Jimmy jumped in. "Dad didn't leave a will, right? So his inheritance should be split between me and you, right, Mom?" "Yes, that's how it would be," I responded. However, Jimmy and his wife exchanged a sly look and laughed. Then, Alexa made a surprising statement. "Amanda, may I say something?" "Sure, what is it?" I asked, not anticipating what would come next. "Now that Chris is gone, please either close down the smelly fish store or disown us and leave this house. We don't want our cafe to be associated with the fish smell," Alexa declared bluntly. Well, I had expected something of this nature. Her straightforward words left me speechless. "I had chosen to disown you and leave this house," I announced, shocking both Jimmy and his wife. "Why are you so surprised? Isn't this what you were waiting for?" I asked. Jimmy and Alexa, taken aback, responded, "Well, that's probably the wisest decision. But I have one condition. I don't mind cutting ties with you, but I don't want to lose my connection with Tate. If you allow me to see Tate, I'll leave the house," Alexa proposed. "Mirinda, we're not that bad." We wouldn't ask you to cut ties with Tate, right? Jimmy added quickly. Alexa nodded in agreement, saying, "Of course not." Tate is finally warming up to Mom. "No problem." "Is that so?" "Then we're agreed," I replied. "But I'll stay here until things settle down with Chris. I'll also need to find a new place to live. After that, I'll leave." 2 weeks later, once everything with Chris was settled, I left the house. "Grandma, help. The house smells terrible." Tate rushed into the store, panicked. "What? Aren't Dad and Mom there?" I asked. "No," he replied. "Let's hurry." I left the store in my employee's hands and rushed home with Tate. Upon entering the house, I was hit by a noxious odor in the stale air. The source of the smell was the kitchen garbage left unattended, overflowing garbage bags in the sink, unwashed dishes piled up, small bugs flying around, half-eaten food, and drink bottles on the table, and garbage bags scattered all over the floor. "What is this?" I exclaimed. Tate hesitated before responding. "Mom didn't clean up. She said she'll do it later. Don't touch anything." In the middle of the rainy season, it's no wonder it stinks. And Dad didn't do anything. I questioned, "Was it like this in your previous house?" "Even worse," Tate admitted, "but at least there, I could escape to my room. Here, there's no place to hide." I took a deep breath, trying to contain my frustration. "All right, let's clean this up together. We'll make the house smell nice again." Despite the challenges, Tate and I worked side by side, trying to restore some order to the neglected house. It was a stark reminder that even with the changes in our family dynamics, the responsibility for maintaining our home now fell solely on my shoulders. When I asked Tate about the state of the house, he replied slowly, "Yes, Mom stopped cleaning after she started fighting with Dad. Dad used to clean the kitchen, but Mom wouldn't let anyone in her room." "Why didn't you tell me all this when we talked before?" I inquired. Tate hesitated before apologizing. "Sorry, Grandma. I asked too many questions. It must be hard." I realized he couldn't say that his mother was unable to clean. Then, I remembered Jimmy's words when they first came to our house. "Don't come upstairs." I had never gone up before, but now I had to. As I tried to ascend the stairs, I found garbage scattered there too. Opening the door to Alexa's room revealed a scene like a trash house from TV. "Let's clean up the first floor for now, Grandma." "I'll help," Tate suggested. That evening, when Jimmy and Alexa returned home, I greeted them with Tate. Alexa was furious, asking, "Why is Amanda in our house?" "We'll sue for trespassing." I told them both not to say horrible things. "This house is mine. Chris gave it to me as a gift before he died," I revealed. They were shocked to learn the truth. "Alexa, you always called me fish smelly, yet you don't mind your own garbage smell. That's strange," I pointed out. "Why didn't she tell us the house was in your name?" Jimmy asked. I just didn't answer because he never asked. "Were you planning to live here forever without handling the inheritance?" I responded. Jimmy seemed flustered, unable to find the words. I declared my decision to leave the house and cut ties with them. "Is that wrong? What will happen to us then?" Alexa looked desperate. Jimmy suggested, "Mom, you left, so just give us the house, right?" Furious, I delivered my final ultimatum. "Mom, Mom, Mom, you're more bothersome than the little bugs on the garbage. We cut our ties 2 weeks ago. Why should I hand over this house, which Chris and I treasured, to a stranger? You turned it into a mess in just 2 weeks. It's pitiful for the house. So I've decided just now, I'm going to sell this house. You both need to leave." "That's terrible. How can you just sell a house we're living in?" Jimmy and his wife were in a panic. "Terrible? Who's the terrible one here? You didn't offer to live with Chris and me out of kindness," I retorted. "But because you had nowhere else to live, right?" I asked calmly, and Jimmy started to get agitated. "What are you talking about? You quit your job, couldn't pay the mortgage for your new high-rise apartment, and were in trouble, weren't you?" Jimmy accused. "How do you know that? Who told you?" I inquired. It doesn't matter who told me. I thought it was strange you suddenly wanted to live together after not contacting us for 3 years. You were planning to live here without paying rent and use Chris' inheritance to open your cafe, right? Jimmy became defiant, realizing I knew everything. Regardless of the reason, he continued, we're the family living here now. Are you planning to kick out Tate too? The hardest part for me was Tate. If he could be happy, I would have given the house to Jimmy and his family. But what if that wasn't the case? I was troubled, and I came to an answer. I have a good idea, I announced. Alexa laughed at my suggestion, but I continued, Tate can stay with me. What's so funny, Alexa? I asked. Miranda, where are Tate's guardians? Alexa questioned. I had noticed Tate outside the room listening to our conversation, so I called him in. Tate, come here. Facing Jimmy and his wife, Tate expressed his feelings. I want to live with Grandma, just the two of us, he said decisively. It was the first time I saw Tate express his will so clearly. Alexa panicked, saying, What are you saying? Won't she be lonely without Dad and Mom? Jimmy desperately tried to persuade him. Living with us means you can continue to live in this house. You'll be happier with us than Grandma. But Tate responded firmly, But this house was given to Grandma by Grandpa, right? Why do you live here and make Grandma leave? Unable to bear Tate's direct gaze, they fell silent. Jimmy and his wife reluctantly agreed to leave, allowing me to take care of Tate. Later, I told Tate, This is your new home now, our small castle, just you and me. We moved to a 50-year-old house that Chris and I had planned to renovate for our retirement. We used subsidies and grants from the local government and had it remodeled affordably. This house was beautifully done by the grandson of someone Grandpa used to know. Wow, Grandma, Tate exclaimed as he looked around. Then, unexpectedly, Jimmy and his wife showed up with a ridiculous request. They wanted to use Mom's house as a traditional house cafe. I reminded them firmly, this is Grandma and my castle with Grandpa. Please leave. Tate showed them a way, fulfilling his promise to protect me. Ding dong. A delivery arrived. Who is it from? I wondered as I opened the box. To my surprise, it was from the sender's name, and I almost dropped the box. Inside was a letter of gratitude from Chris to me and a ruby necklace. Chris had kept his promise to celebrate our 40th anniversary. Miranda, you'll say this is too expensive, but accept it without complaining. I quit smoking to buy this, the letter read. It was typical of Chris's sweet and thoughtful gestures. Grandma, why are you crying? Tate asked. It's tears of joy, Tate, I replied. Do you like it? I felt as if the photo of Chris was praising me, and I couldn't help but cry. I looked at the picture and whispered, You look great, Chris, you look great. The memory of our love and the thoughtful gift brought tears of happiness to my eyes. I hope you guys enjoy our video. To watch more interesting stories, hit that subscribe button. Thank you.